churn is obviously something that they need to work with, but also the retention strategies that they have for specific retention and attention, because sports is very cyclical as well.
Hi everybody, for today's episode of Retention Zone, the video podcast focused on subscription and retention in video streaming, I have the pleasure to have with me today Markus Hejdenberg from Accedo. Hi Markus.
Hello. Nice to be here, and thank you for having us.
Yeah. So maybe let's start with something about your background and what Accedo does in the streaming space.
Yeah, sure. So my background is, so I actually have a background in production. So my background is that I started off in a production house. I started a production house that did commercials, music videos, also did some short films with the intention of doing feature films eventually. In the mix of that, I was involved in starting a post-production house, and this was in Gothenburg, Sweden. And both of those still exist in different capacities today, doing both feature films and post-production and commercials. Then I ventured into software and developed a music startup simultaneously to Spotify. So we did a streaming software similar to Spotify with a different angle, where artists could upload their own art directly into the platform and get all of the revenues themselves. That was the background. That was a startup. We did that for 6-7 years. After that, I was quite knackered. We ran out of money or didn't really succeed. Spotify succeeded very well. Then I came to Accedo, and I've been in Accedo for 9 years now. So that's a testament to my age. And I've been in various capacities here at Accedo. So I've run partnerships. I've been in business development. I run product management for multiple years. And now I run sales and marketing for the product side. So Accedo has two legs that it stands on. It's the pro services, managed services type of engagements that we do for large type of broadcasters, operators, and media houses. Where we build very bespoke, take the SI role, and then we help them to manage the service moving forward. And then we have the product side, which is predominantly a SaaS software called Accedo One, and that caters for the tier 2 market and the tier 3 market, and focuses on media houses, broadcasters, and sports as well.
Yeah. And you told me that you have around 400 customers overall, correct?
Yeah. So Accedo started in 2004, so we have the 20th anniversary coming up next year. So obviously we've had a lot of customers over the years, but active customers, there is about 400 active customers that we have in various capacities, both on the pro services side and on the SaaS side.
So my next question, and with this variety, if you want, of observation point that you have in the industry, is what do you think are the key challenges for your customers today? And I understand it can be different from the different places they are.
Yeah, and certainly there are. So if you look at it from a, and I don't know, it's a very blunt way of talking to the market, but tiering tends to work. So we'll look at the large tiers, like the tier zeros that we call Netflix and Paramounts and Disney and so forth. I think that their main challenge moving forward, and has been for a couple of years, is obviously some sort of growth, right? But to be able to retain the revenues that they have. So churn is obviously something that they need to work with a lot, but also the retention strategies that they have, being able to have customers coming back to consume the content that they have, having a release cadence. And this doesn't only go for the tier zeros, that goes for the tier 2s and the tier 1s as well, of course, that they need to have, let's face it, taking a step back, it's content that drives the business, right? When I go to a video service, I'm there for the content. Obviously, we like to, as a UX provider, we develop the applications, we design the applications for customers, but ultimately it's the content that are there that will drive the retention. So to have a good enough release cadence of all of that content, and being able to communicate to the ideal customer profile and your customers what is coming up, what has just been released, and so forth. I think that those strategies and being able to talk to that and do that in an efficient way. If I go to myself as a consumer, there's nothing that drives more engagement than when I get that push notification that a new episode has been released or this is upcoming. That drives something for me, something that I know that I've watched the series, and now a new episode is coming out this Wednesday or tomorrow, whenever that push notification says that it comes. Likewise, I think that Netflix is doing a terrific job when it comes to new releases that they have, and the communication that they do around the new releases. And then if we talk to the smaller customers that we have, I think that being able to just gain net new customers is the biggest challenge for them. They also have some problems with retention, but these customers tend to be more loyal, if you may, because they are usually a niche, be it that they are geographically bound to an area that it's a local broadcaster in Sweden, for instance, that has unique content to this specific country or region, or it is a niche service that holds specific content in a niche. Be it like one good example that I love to take is Dog TV that we have as a customer, that is a streaming service just for dogs. That is as niche as it can get. But we also have the crime and investigation channel in the UK, for instance, and being able to gain net new customers and drive that engagement over time, I think is really, really important, and have that clear strategy in correlation with the size of the catalog that you have as well. So when you start off, you have a good size catalog, but at the same time being able to have a release cadence that is interesting and drives that customer journey that you want throughout the life cycle of your service, right? So you need to have enough content to be able to drive that engagement over time. And I think that that's ultimately what our customers are struggling with. There are nuances and facets to this that are huge.
Basically, content is at the center, but clearly as the platform matured and even as the market matured, if you're providing the streaming service, you start working on, you need to have the data to understand your audience. You need to have the strategies and the tools to basically, from onboarding to the subscription part, to the payments, to the customer service. So initially, I think everybody was focused on the video quality. And in some cases, it's still not completely solved. Second, you try to have a platform and application UX that is discoverable and consumable. But then everything else is becoming more and more important, because that's, at least is my theory, it's where you make money, I think.
Yeah, and certainly. And I think you're absolutely right. We haven't certainly not nailed the video part of this totally end to end. For VOD services, I think that this is less of an issue. It's when there are huge influxes of users in a live case where this becomes an issue today, scaling wise and CDN wise. I think that that's where we have large customers that needs to have a multi-CDN strategy to be able to handle the influx. But let's talk about the user experience, and I think that this is vastly interesting and something that we work with on a day-to-day basis, right? So we can see, a lot of the customers that we have already been in market, and they're switching to us for one reason or another. And what we can see is that once, or if you implement a UX strategy that is proven, right? So right today we know what works and what doesn't work in user experience when it comes to the sign-up flows, when it comes to the payments, when it comes to how you consume and find the best content in the quickest way. We know this already, and it's out there. And end consumers has been accustomed to a way of consuming content and navigating throughout the applications. They have a sense of how this should be done today. And you can deviate somewhat from that, and you can come up with novel ideas, but you shouldn't deviate too much, right? It's like when you go into a newspaper and someone has come up with a new UX completely. You're slightly lost as an end consumer, and I think that the same has happened now for us in the video industry, and when it comes to the application side. So I think that you shouldn't deviate too much, and you should use the best practices that are out there and that are already proven. One such thing, and this is a case that I talk to a lot of customers about when we do demos and we showcase what we're doing, is the honey trap model. When it comes to the sign-up flows, for instance, a lot of customers usually want to start off by having the form fill, all of the offerings and everything being displayed on one page when you start off. But what has been proven and what we can see is that the honey trap model, meaning that you ask the customer for something upfront. That might be the email address and email and password. So you start off by signing up as a user, because what happens is that you've asked the customer to engage a little bit and give you something before they move on into the actual choosing of the package. That has a higher conversion than showcasing all of the packages and then the form fill and everything, the sign up forms and everything on the same page. So doing that step by step has a higher conversion than having all at once. And these are the small things that, and very, very important things that I think that as a customer you need to think about. And I've been taught this in sales training my entire life, right? Ask the customer for something. Right, in the B2B scenario, ask the customer for something, engage a little bit, have them send something to you, engage a little bit, and then you provide pricing at a later stage, right?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure, the full customer journey is becoming central to monetization. And talking about monetization, just a quick, if you want, we're talking a lot about the hybrid model. So monetizing with SVOD, traditional now, a few years, and AVOD, traditional, but mixing the two in one funnel that grows. How do you see this SVOD, AVOD debate, if you want, if you have any input on that?
I mean, it's huge. And we see this with most of our customers today, that they have a hybrid model, and it's growing, right? So customers that used to be pure SVOD are moving into a hybrid model where they do both today. So they have a lower tier with ads that is cheaper, of course, and then you have more premium tiers as well, and being able to experiment with having features, more streams, simultaneous users, what have you, in the higher tiers as well. And I think it's a great way to be able to supplement the revenues that you have in a pure SVOD model. And I remember starting out at Accedo 9 years ago. Yes, we had AVOD customers, but they were few. There were most of the customers were SVOD customers for sure. And today, that has shifted quite a lot, right? So I would tend to say that I'm speaking a little bit without having the data in front of me, but there is a clear shift over toward more pure AVOD model type of businesses, where we on the SaaS platform, I would say it's probably 50-50 today, where we have pure AVOD services and SVOD services, or AVOD services with an SVOD component in them.
And if you want, that may pose kind of a challenge to make everything fair and understandable to the user, because it's even more complex, right? So you can start some content you can watch, you have to upgrade, then you have more plans to upgrade. So I agree, I tend to empathize with the fact that you need to be very thoughtful when you put together the strategy and how you implement the strategy and execute the customer journey. I've always operated in sport, and I always thought that sport has special needs, because obviously all these UX have been created for entertainment. And very often, in my view, which is a bit radical, sport has been bastardized inside this entertainment platform. So what is your experience with sport, both in terms of the experience, but also, you know, the way you create packages around sport in subscription, etc.?
Yeah, which is super interesting from And I agree with you. Sports have been the media space started the entire OTT space, and then sports have latched on to that. So there are certainly services out there that are doing pure sports engagement type of services. And I think if we start in the monetization space, I think that's very interesting from a sports perspective, and how you run sports-specific retention and attention, because sports is very cyclical as well. They have the seasons; they might not run the entire year as well. So I think that from a sports UX perspective, you need to make it super clear what you're paying for and how you're getting it. Sports doesn't have the same type of issues with retention and attention. They do have that mid-season, and their strategies, and we're partnering with Kling a lot and working with them when it comes to this sports space, because they have this seasonal passes and so forth that you can set up. But I think that there are also another side to that coin, right? So if I were starting a sports service today, I would look at how do I run retention and how can I run attention throughout the entire season without having to possibly pause mid-season or in between seasons. And I think every sports entity out there today are looking at Drive to Survive and how to. I think that this is. I think that every sports entity out there is looking at it. Okay, here we now actually have an opportunity to and I think what Drive to Survive did for F1 is that it humanized the sport. So I've been an F1 fan for a very, very long time. But what it did for me was that it gave me an insight into these people that are behind the scenes. And F1, mind you, is the most dehumanized sports in the world. You don't see the drivers. It's just cars going around, right? And after Drive to Survive, I have all of these new relationships. It's not only my favorite driver. I have all of this relationship with these individuals, and I have a newfound love for the Haas team, which I never thought that I would have. And Günther, I didn't think I would have which I think everyone loves there. So I think that from a sports perspective and monetization perspective, I think that everyone out there is now looking at, okay, we need to have something mid-season where we can actually drive engagement when the games aren't going on, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to say, I started my career in 1987 in Formula One, but at the circuit. So I was inside. Right. I saw some of the famous driver of the age, so Senna, etc. So yeah. So coming back to streaming and subscription. You clearly have a lot of access to customer and seeing what the market is doing. What do you see happening from here? Will there be still a lot of people doing what I call own and operated? Or the big tech, big guys will dominate the market and big media and few players will be there? Do you think there is space for everybody?
It's the $1 million question, right? I certainly think that there is a downward pressure in terms of costs for everyone. That's absolutely clear. I don't think that many of the absolutely not tier zeros, even those I think that they need to look at their cost base. And I'm a huge fan of doing this zero-based budgeting. So I think that many of them will need to go back to the drawing table to see, okay, what are we doing? Where can we actually improve the service or maintain the service and reduce costs significantly? So I think that that's where we are going, and I think that that's a necessity. There are so many of customers out there that have way too large teams in-house, and it's not going to be sustainable, and they're not going to be able to drive this moving forward. So I think that both, even if you are intending to build your services, you need to look at doing that in a much more clever way than you're doing it today, with leaner teams more efficient providers. And I think, speaking very selfishly, I mean, we can certainly see that a lot of the tier 2s and even the tier 1s are looking towards more SaaS platforms and what is readily available out there in the market for their providers, be it that it's ads, it's subscriptions, it's analytics providers, front-end vendors, whatever it might be as a part of your ecosystem. There are, and I think that this is natural, because I think that many of us providing SaaS have matured a lot in the last few years, right? So I think that the market is now ready for those type of platforms where there wasn't in a few years ago. So right, when I started out, a lot of what was being deployed was either custom versions of something that someone had built, and then it was modified for that specific customer in particular ways, or in particular ways. And now we're seeing that, okay, the SaaS platforms that are out there, be it whatever they're doing, can provide what I need. So I think that's where we're going. And then the second part of the question related to, is there room for everybody? No, there isn't room for everybody. There isn't. But certainly, if you find your niche and you have a good enough catalog, you can be in this space, and you should be in this space. But I think that's ultimately what is going to be the driver if you make it or break it.
Okay, thank you, Markus. I think it has been a very good conversation because of the width and also, if you want, the depth of the discussion. Also from, finally, a vendor point of view, because we're always talking about, the Netflix and the strategy is there, and clearly we have a B2B2C point of view, right? We need to think the audience and fans first, our clients, but in the end we are on the vendor side, and very seldomly I see vendors discussing vendor mechanics, which I think is crucial, to be honest. Thank you.
Ciao. Yeah, ciao. Thank you so much.